people like me. You need people like me so you can point your f***ing fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Boxing bad boy or boxing troll. Ryan Garcia has labeled Shakur Stevenson a bum. Ryan Garcia may not be interested in fighting Shakur Stevenson anytime soon due to the latter's defensive style in the ring. California's Garcia, 26, is serving a one-year suspension for testing positive for a performance-enhancing drug, Asterin, following his April 20th decision win over Devin Haney. The UD win by Garcia was overturned by the New York State Athletic Commission to a no contest. Despite not being allowed to fight until April of next year, Garcia doesn't see Stevenson as a suitable dance partner when he returns.
This is like going to a restaurant and not being able to order anything from the menu.
What's the point?
One boxer talking down another with no intention of fighting him.
What's the point?
Then why even bring him up? You guys don't campaign at anywhere near the same weight. He's still down there at 135. God knows at what weight Ryan's gonna come back. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back a junior middleweight.
You don't bring no money to the table, so why would anyone want to see me fight you, Garcia? Told Say Cheese TV. You are a bum. You are good, not great. Garcia's only career defeat came against 135-pound superstar Gervonta Tank Davis in April of last year when he lost a KO in 7. 8 months later, Garcia stopped Oscar Duarte in 8 on his return.
Oftentimes, you hear fighters say stuff like what Ryan is saying about Shakur just to turn around and fight a lesser-known fighter than a Shakur. That you ain't got no time for a Shakur. You ain't got no time for him, but you have time for guys like Emmanuel to go. Time for guys like Oscar Duarte.
What are they? If Shakur is a bum, what are they? If Shakur brings nothing to the table, what did they bring to the table? Because you had no aversion to fighting them.
I'm not advocating for the fight, you understand. I'm not hard-pressed to see a Garcia versus Stevenson fight. I'm just pointing out how stupid and contradictory Ryan's comments are.
When he comes back, at whatever weight he comes back, I wouldn't be surprised if it's anywhere in between 147 and 154. When he does, who's going to be his comeback fight?
Better be somebody good the way he's talking.
Some of the people he's talking down, some of the people he's trashing, like Terrence Crawford, like Shakur Stevenson, are all fighters, are all boxers that are perceived as being better boxers than he is, tactically and technically, that even if their fights don't make for non-stop action, from a fundamental perspective, they're more fundamentally sound than Ryan and his booty roll.
What the hell is a booty roll?
To remember what he did in the Oscar Duarte fight? He used the Philly shell, but he turned all the way around when he did it, pointing his asshole at the guy.
The booty roll.
You're not like that. All your fights, you run. You almost lost to Edwin. Tim Bradley sucking your dick every time he gets a chance. A great fighter can do offense and defense. Mayweather did offense and defense. You only do defense.
I don't think it's a coincidence that Ryan is targeting fighters that are perceived as being more tactical and technical than he is. Perhaps he harbors some resentment that for all of his popularity outside of the ring on social media, in the world of boxing, nobody actually thinks Ryan is better than those fighters.
Nobody who knows anything about boxing, I understand that he's got some height, he's got some length, and he's got some strength and some speed, but those are all physical attributes.
Not applied sciences in what is the sweet science. Brian ain't got a boxing brains.
Ryan.
Whatever. We know that Shakur Stevenson's fight with Joe Cordina has since been canceled because Shakur suffered an injury en route to it. Shakur took to his social media and stated, "God works in mysterious ways. Through the ups and downs, I'm steady hungry and motivated more than ever. 2025 is going to be my best year yet. Surgery went great. It's a minor setback for a major comeback."
They say bad things happen in threes. When you think about Shakur Stevenson's last two lackluster performance, well, that makes two. That makes two bad things, and the cancellation of his fight On the undercard, it better be versus Bivol. That makes 3.
Right?
This is gonna sound odd, but I think now Shakur is in the clear. I think now Shakur is set for bigger and better things, that he's gone all through that. And if Ryan wants to kick him while he's down, he can.
The severity of the injury, I mean, it must have been serious because he had immediate surgery. He's already been operated on.
In my previous video, we've talked about what seemed to be chronic hand issues that Shakur has been having since before the Edwin De Los Santos fight. So maybe what he needed was a break. Maybe what he needed was some time off to let that hand or those hands fully heal.
Recover.
Maybe it's better that Shakur is taking the rest of the year off to let those hand issues sort themselves out. Maybe it's for the best, and maybe in the coming year, they'll set him up in some big fights, and
I mean, we'll see.
but Ryan is in no position to talk. You would think that he amassed this popularity from a fight that he won, someone that he beat or something that he accomplished, but it's all digital.
The mindless drones that follow him.
It's all from the internet. He's done a decent job of turning that into revenue, but that can only last so long because in spite of Ryan's popularity, it's not equally matched with his ability. I don't think for a second he's going back to 140 because technically he never made it. He's likely going to campaign as a welterweight moving forward, and you won't be so big. You won't be so strong, and we know you're not that skilled.
At 147, it's slim pickings, buddy.
Could be. Maybe he can beat a Mario Barrios. Not completely sure he beats a Brian Norman, not that Brian's on his radar. I don't think for a second he beats Boots Ennis.
Your best bet for a money fight, a big money fight, is Devin Haney, running it back with Devin Haney because of all the controversy.
The thing is, if he runs it back with Devin Haney, I think Devin beats him.
As embarrassing as Devin Haney can be sometimes, if there's a rematch, I think Devin wins and puts an end.
Puts to rest this loudmouth idiot.
Somebody needs to.
Men's junior middleweight news, a bit of a curveball. Janibek's world title defense has been linked with the Murtazaliev versus Tszyu card. We know that Tim Tszyu is co-promoted by both No Limit and the PBC, and it was No Limit that won the purse bid for Janibek's fight.
I thought they wanted to do it in Australia.
The long-awaited fight between Janibek Alimkhanalai and Andrei Mikhailovich may finally have a date and a venue, according to a World Boxing News source with knowledge of the situation. The middleweight fighters were first scheduled to fight this past July at Pearl Concert Theater inside the Palms Casino and Resort in Vegas. However, after Janibek botched his weight cut, the bout was scrapped at the last minute. The top-ranked show went on, albeit with Raymond Muratalla and Tevin Farmer in the main event. More recently, the IBF mandated that the fight go to purse bid, with No Limit Boxing, Tzew's promoter, beating Top Rank, who represent Janibek by the slimmest of margins, $351,000 to $350,000. We talked about why I think that's suspicious.
Purse bid's supposed to be a blind bid.
You beat Top Rank out by $1,000, just $1,000. It's almost like you knew what they were going to bid, and you bid just enough that you could beat them, but not so much that you're overspending.
Suspicious.
And where initially I thought that it was No Limit's intention to take that fight closer to Andrei Mikhailovich's neck of the woods. Andrei's from New Zealand.
No Limit does shows in Australia.
I thought they wanted to take it down there. Apparently, they want to add it to the Tszyu versus Murtazaliev card, which I'm honestly not against.
Though it's not what I expected.
This means that No Limit can now host the fight instead of Top Rank, and according to a source with knowledge of the bout, No Limit is considering hosting Alimkhanalai versus Mikhailovich on the same show as Murtazaliev versus Tszyu at the Caribe Royale Resort in Orlando on October 19th. So in the main event, you have an Australian
And a Russian.
and on the undercard, you have a New Zealander and a Kazakh.
You're doing this in Florida?
Might as well have done it at the UN. I mean, this ain't the crowd, and that ain't the town for that kind of a card, for those kinds of fighters. International fighters, ideally, they would be fighting in Australia.
Is there a large Kazakh community in Florida that I don't know about?
Bunch of New Zealanders, perhaps, or maybe Aussies. Are there a lot of Aussies in Florida? There might be, the way they're structuring the show and where they want to do it. WBN reported the scoop 4 weeks ago that Tszew's challenge of the IBF title at 154 would take place next month in Florida. Now, we have credible information that the PBC card on Prime Video, a non-pay-per-view, could be fortified by the addition of the unified middleweight match.
If Andrei Mikhailovich pulls off the unthinkable, and he beats Janibek Alimkhanalai, wins those two alphabet titles, that would then mean that all 4 alphabet titles in the middleweight division are connected to the PBC. The 2 that Andre would have won, Carlos Adamez's WBC title and the WBA title on the line in this weekend's fight between Lara and Danny Garcia.
All these moving parts, you get the sense that Janibek Canelo, the traveling champion, the defending champion, he's going to need a knockout to win because he can't trust those judges, not on that side of the street. No Limit will hope that the double feature will maximize interest on 2 of their most prominent clients, Zhu, who is one of the most exciting fighters at 154, and Mikhailovich, a rising 160-pounder who will compete for the first time outside of Australia when he challenges Canelo for the IBF and WBO titles.
Just imagine if Andre wins.
I'll tell you this much. If Andre were to win that fight, win those 2 alphabet titles, he stands a better chance of becoming a star at middleweight than either Erislandy Lara, who's in his early 40s, or Carlos Adamez.
Nobody gives a shit about Carlos Adamez.
Andre Mikhailovich is young and unbeaten.
He's got spunk. He's got fire. He wins that fight. He takes those 2 alphabet titles back to Australia, where he's based out of, even though he's a native New Zealander.
No Limit will have themselves another world champion, a middleweight champion that could breathe new life into this division. That's if Andre were to pull this off.
Not saying that he will.
WBN obtained the information around the time Canelo posted last week on X, the social media site formerly known as Twitter, that he'd already started training. He added, the fight is coming soon. If Janibek posted the comment on the day he started preparing for the Mikhailovich fight, it would provide him with a 43-day, 6-week camp. It is unclear as of yet if there will be any more No Limit boxers competing on the PBC card, or if PBC athletes will make up the remaining slots at the event.
I don't know, a lot of the PBC's bodies, the ones they've got lying around, they're fighting this weekend on Canelo's undercard. Rolly, Caleb, Stefan.
I think they said David Morrell is rumored to be coming back later on this year. November, December, sometime around there. It's the same with David Benavidez. If they are going to put PBC fighters on that show, I don't know which ones.
Maybe Brandon Figueroa.
With Tim Zhu in the main event, and Mikhailovich potentially making an appearance on the undercard after No Limit won the purse bid, I don't know who's at the helm of promotion here. I mean, it's supposed to be a PBC show, but it sounds like it's No Limit pulling all the strings.
We'll see.
Though it's not necessarily bad news that these 2 title fights could end up on the same show. Title fight at junior middle, another one at middle.
PBC's trying to go international, and it's a non-pay-per-view.
And those are both action fights, by the way, featuring all action fighters. So just the idea of it actually makes for a decent show that doesn't cost an arm and a leg to watch. So I'm not against it if that's what they plan on doing, though. Janibek, if he wants to stay champion, you better take it out of the judges' hands.
Better knock Andre out.
And finally, ahead of this weekend's fight, Edgar Berlanga loves the energy of Fight Week, and he's predicting a knockout win in 6 rounds, in his dreams.
Are we supposed to believe that the guy who couldn't knock out Jason Quigley and couldn't knock out Steve Rolls is all of a sudden going to be able to knock a guy out who's never even been knocked down?
Much less out. This is where boxing can be a silly sport at times. Super middleweight champion Saul Canelo Alvarez has predicted that he will knock out challenger Edgar Berlanga in 8 rounds or less at the T-Mobile Arena in Vegas on Saturday night. So Berlanga decided to do 2 better. I'm gonna knock him out in the 6th round, said the Brooklyn-born Puerto Rican, who brings a record of 22-0 with 17 KOs into by far the biggest fight of his career. He told me he's got me in the 8th. I've got him in the 6th.
Edgar Berlanga is just doing his best to say what he's expected to say, talk a good one, sell the fight.
Speaking on a stage in the lobby of the MGM Grand as part of Tuesday's ceremonial grand arrivals that kick off Fight Week, Berlanga promised fireworks. It's gonna be a war, he said. It's Puerto Rico against Mexico. It's something for the history books. As far as Team Canelo, we've always had respect for him, for his accolades, and what he's done in the ring. But on Saturday night, it's a fight. He's going in there to hurt me, and I've got to go in there and hurt him. Berlanga jousted verbally with the assembled crowd, the majority of whom appeared to be Canelo supporters. All the haters, I love you too. You push me to greatness. And afterwards, Berlanga confessed to Boxing Scene that he was enjoying the experience and the atmosphere. It's amazing, man, he said. I love the energy. This is like a concert, like WWE, except we're fighting for our lives, and we've got to put on a show.
Of course he's gonna love that Canelo's got all those fans because they're the ones making this payday possible. If Canelo had the same resume fought the same fighters, had the same career accolades, but he didn't have all those fans, and he didn't have all that marquee value, Edgar wouldn't want to fight him.
Because then he would just be a high-risk, low-reward opponent, the kind of opponents that Edgar has been circumventing for a long time now. That's why he's not ready for this weekend's fight.
Without the people being here, there's no show. Imagine having a stadium like the T-Mobile with no fans. You need the fans. You need this kind of energy. You're going to get knocked out and you're going to knock him out, says Edgar, putting on a brave face. Underneath it all, I think Edgar and his team know what his limitations are. I think they know that if they're not careful, they could end up losing to somebody else for a lot less than what they're about to make this weekend. So it's a calculated risk, but he's basically showing up for a check, just like Jermel Charlo did.
It's the only reason that Edgar's here. Canelo Alvarez has been on this kind of stage many times before, over the past decade and more, but Berlanga bristled at the notion that this challenge may have come too soon for him. I've been in this game for over 20 years, he protested. Something special is going to happen this weekend. Berlanga earlier raised some eyebrows when predicting that his boxing IQ would win him the fight. So was he asserting that his ring smarts were higher than his rivals? He's going to put me on that level, he said. And all my life, I've been there.
He's going to lose.
The silver lining is he's in a densely populated division that still offers up a lot of good fights, a lot of solid fights, even if he loses this weekend. And he's going to. There are still fights like a Munguia fight, a Pacheco fight,
and those are all fights that can be built up into pay-per-views of their own over time. If I had any advice for Edgar, it's to lose with some dignity.
Because you're gonna lose and everybody knows you're gonna lose. The bookies know you're gonna lose, the fans know you're gonna lose, you probably know you're gonna lose.
But if you lose with some dignity,
like Daniel Jacobs lost with some dignity against Gennady Golovkin, you can parlay a performance into even more paydays by winning the fans over. Yeah, the guy got his ass kicked, but at least he tried.
Because you're gonna lose, but it doesn't have to be a lose-lose situation.
And after he loses, I don't think he should take a whole lot of time off. I don't think he should wait a year and a day to return to the ring.
Look at Joseph Parker. When he got knocked out by Joe Joyce, he didn't wait long to come back. And he parlayed that into a lot of success.
There's a whole lot waiting for Edgar beyond this weekend's fight that I've no doubts he's going to lose, but there's still a lot more there, and he's still young. There are other big fights to be made besides this one.
The focus of this weekend's fight has to be doing the best you can. Lose with some dignity, because he's in over his head, and underneath his tough exterior, I think he knows he's in over his head. He doesn't stand much chance to win.
But if he gives it his all, gives it what he's got, and does at least better than a Jermel Charlo did,
people will respect him for it, and they'll come back to see him fight again.
Puerto Rican fight fans can be fiercely loyal. I hardly think at Edgar's age, losing to Canelo Alvarez would spell the end of him and the end of his career.
It's a built-in excuse in there. He took on one of the top pound-for-pound fighters in the sport and he lost, and there's no shame in that.
Treat it as a learning experience. A learning experience that pays really well.
It's the best advice you can give Edgar. You're gonna lose, but try to lose with some dignity.